So my name is Assal Karimi Izadi. I came to Victoria about 5 years ago. I was here as a tourist. I took a break at my work in Belgium. I came here and I really liked it. I stayed 6 months. I loved it so much that I extended for another 6 months. And then I went back to Belgium after 1 year. And I decided to come back here and I applied for a study permit. Before actually to leave this place and go back to Belgium, I found the Vancouver Island School of Art. By accident, I was walking in the street, I saw the building, I went in and I found that I could follow some classes. And so I went back to Belgium, I quit my job, and I just started everything from new and came here and started my degree at Visa. So I did a diploma in fine arts there. I recently, like in last April, I finished the diploma. And before actually ending the diploma, I applied to the gallery to Xchanges to be maybe one of the artists who will show this year. But I was not really, I was thinking, oh, I'm just a student and I didn't even have lots of experience, so I might have not a big chance. But surprisingly, I got the good news even before finishing my diploma that I was one of the few artists who were selected. And so yeah, that for me was a great opportunity, a very nice way of having a window on my work and being able as an emerging artist to promote myself. So I decided when I applied, I proposed to do this series, like the castle series. This castle is actually a castle where I worked in. It's in Belgium. I'm from Brussels. The castle is in Ghent. Ghent is about 40 minutes with a train from Brussels. So I was studying that time when I worked in that castle. I was 23, 24. And I was studying tourism in Belgium. So I was on my last year and I had to do an internship. So I went to the castle and I asked them if they would accept me as a student there. And they were very excited. They never had anybody doing that. So they just said, yeah, why not? And I said, the only thing, I want to not be at the door and selling tickets. I want to really be part of the castle and work in the castle. So they said, don't worry about it. You're going to be part of it. So they put me they said, you're going to work in the museum. So I had no idea what was the museum, and when I went there for the first time, it was all the torture instruments. So I had to learn all about how those machines were working, how to cut a head, how to cut legs and arms, and it was quite something. And imagining that this was true, that was things that were happening, that a human being invented those things, and how cruel were people, and sometimes I feel things don't really change when I see how the world is going on still now. So yeah, I was like working in that museum, meeting all the tourists and explaining about what was happening there. At the end of the day, closing the doors and running in all the stairs were all in stone, and it was like in a movie for me. I was feeling I'm a princess in my castle, So also during the time that I worked there, it was also the summer, and during the summer they have every year a medieval festival. So people are dressed, and there were some actors coming, and they were making the whole world like in the castle, like if we were all those times. And it was really another world for me. I was in a normal life, and then passing the gate, I was like back in time and in another world. And that experience really stayed in me. And so the castle was something that I always carry with me, just as a memory. And then when I wanted to do a series, for me naturally I had to do the castle. So I started with those series of drawings without looking at any images of the castle, just to go through my memories, to try to remember what was still there in me. Then I did all these drawings, and then I went on internet and I searched for some images of the Gravenstein, is the name of that castle. And very strangely, it was quite similar to my drawings. After all these years, it was still there. And then I started to do some paintings. After doing 2 paintings, my 2 first ones, on the third one, I started to see some shapes going on that for me were kind of very oriental. I was thinking, where does that come from? And then I was like, it comes from me, because I was born in Iran. And I have this Persian culture that I never really paid attention to it, because at 4, I was only 4 when we left to go to Belgium. So I kind of grew up in the European mentality, and yes, my culture was Persian at home, but especially when you're young, you just you want to look like the others. So I was kind of rejecting this part of me and not paying attention. But at home, I was immersed by Persian miniature everywhere, and Persian food, and Farsi, because my mom speaks Farsi to me. And all this came only back to me when I became an artist and a painter. And I started to think that, who am I really? And I started to search for my identity. And so with the castle, I started to do another series of work on the Persian Doors. And really this search of who I am, what I'm doing here. And that happened during COVID. It's at the beginning of the pandemic. Actually, I started my door series. When actually at the very beginning I was so isolated. I was going for a long walk in my neighborhood. And there were only me and deer in the street. And then big houses with doors. And then those doors took me back in time in Iran, memories of images of doors that I saw over there. And then I was looking at those animals and thinking, they're like me, I'm not that different than them. They're kind of trying to find where they're coming from. This is at first it was their place, that people came and built houses, but by suddenly being in silence and nobody in the street, they were kind of taking back to their own property. Mm-hmm. And all this made me think that I need to really start now to find my path. I need to know from where I come. Mm-hmm. So I did a whole series of Persian Doors, and then I got the Xchanges who gave me this opportunity to do an exhibition here, and then I wanted to do the last piece for this show, a bigger one, and coming with all my experience with the doors. And that was my last piece, where actually I really created so much a strong vocabulary, my own vocabulary of my own patterns of Persian art. Mm-hmm. And but for me it's very important to also explain that I am a person of two identity, Persian and Belgian. There's lots of Art Nouveau, Art Deco in my work, because that's also what influenced me as a teenager when I grew up in Brussels. Mm-hmm.